good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent and welcome back to our weekly live stream where I typically have about a couple participants show up, come on for some online coaching in front of everyone. And, we basically talk about everything going on with DFK. Now, what I've actually noticed is recently I'm getting a lot more private clients who kind of want to do things behind the scenes. That's cool too. But, for those of you who are interested in doing private coaching, here's how you get in touch with me. Either hit me up on Discord, we can figure things out, or hit me up through this website. But that being said, let's get on to this week's wrap up. So sorry, I'm just clicking through stuff. How's everyone doing? Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the video. I do have the comments working today, which is actually phenomenal, but there we go. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Everything that you're going to hear today is not financial advice. It is for entertainment purposes only, okay? How are you doing, King Ed? Let's get people in the chat talking. The last few live streams, we haven't been able to get the chat going. Today it's working again because I'm not doing a private video that goes public. These are staying public. And let's start. So the first thing I would say here is that the Gen Zero floor has held. Now, this is somewhat of a surprise, but it makes sense. And the reason I say that is when we saw the Gen Zeros drop last Friday, there was an expectation based on what happened prior, right, with the Crystalville Gen Zeros, that we would see this influx of supply actually cause the value of these Gen Zeros to go down. What's actually happened, and you know what, I'm going to open it up on DFK Quester just to show you. I think last I checked, the floor was 2,600 US. And yeah, you see here, don't know if I can make it bigger, but 2,685 is the cheapest Gen Zero, and the cheapest new Gen Zero is 3,000 US dollars, right? So what that really tells us is a couple things. Number one, people are starting to realize that Gen Zeros are a fantastic deal, and they're afraid of missing the boat on getting one. Number one. Number two, why is that? Well, it's because the game is doing so well, right? Like, think about how much content is really coming out there. Like last night, I think the 8 o'clock time slot with About Life podcast and others, there was like 3 different live streams going on. There was the Chaos Cast, Bogside Chats, and About Life podcast. A lot of content being pumped, a lot more users, and a lot more promise as we get closer to PvP. People want to make sure they have their Gen Zeros, and Gen Zeros are sort of money printing machines. Let's check the comments out. How's it going, Choso? Hey, Coin Wizard, how's it going? And what's up, T-Top? Make sure you hit the like button. One thing I will say, I keep navigating over here because this guy is going to be our power-up person. So we saw in today's Twitter tease that the power-ups are a very short time away, right? Worm 369, 3 streams at the same time was crazy. Yeah, I know. Can you imagine, like 6 months ago, we were lucky to have like 1 or 2 DFK live streams a day. Now we're fortunate enough to have the luxury of choice. Hopefully, very soon, we're going to see the number of content creators multiply. I think, a lot of people are seeing that, hey, you don't have to be an expert to turn on the camera, turn on StreamYard, turn on whatever streaming service, and just start talking about the project you love, right? Hey, Uli. Yeah, heck yeah, made it on time for once. That's right. iOS code, this batch of Gen Zero is a bit different from the last batch. 2 is people can go for spell bows rather than dead end and shapeshifter like before. That is actually very true. I've actually noticed that the prices of bards are significantly higher than the prices of shapeshifters as well. And like we see Seer Berserker kind of like the forgotten unloved class, or the forgotten unloved class of Crystal Veil. But Scholars and Legionnaires are really holding their premium. And honestly, like as somebody who joined the game in December of 2021 and it was like literally impossible to get my hands on a Gen Zero there. I think it was like 14,000 or 16,000 for like the worst one. And I mean, we had like parts of time where I think like 1800, 1900 US dollars was the floor. I don't think it's gone lower than that. I think two different times we've kind of gotten to that point. So like definitely like there's a component to like hero development and hero creation, but there's also just a general feeling like there's going to be 4,000 Gen Zeros in total, 250 for each basic class. People want to get their hands on them. I know that I have four and I still don't feel confident with just four of them. So I'm going to look for ways to kind of expand that. There is the DFK merch raffle that's happening tomorrow. Got one raffle. Can I get there? Probably not, but hey, it's a moonshot, right? Um, how's it going, kind of says PTG. The PTG crew is doing really well. I think I forget, like I think PTG does a lot of giveaways, which is pretty dope. Yeah. Rebel Scum, yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I thought having one of them would quench my appetite. It actually makes you even more hungry. So I'm sitting here like, I want like 10 Gen Zeros. I want to be like Grady. And yeah, I think everybody can say, hey, love seeing the demand. And you know what? One of the coolest things about owning a Gen Zero is you get to be like the lottery ticket creator, right? So creating those Gen 1 10 out of 10 heroes. Um, I talked about this last week, but if you go to the tavern, what you're going to start seeing is the prices of these Gen 1 10 out of 10 heroes has actually started to come down, right? So the floor last week, I believe, was 150 crystal. Now you're seeing like 139, 140, there's a bunch. Like that's not to say that like it's enough. I think once you get rid of like five of them, you're back to 150. Or sorry, nine of them, you're back to 150. But let's just say like this is kind of why I don't want to stockpile at this price. It also might be because the price of crystal has kind of gone up. And that's really what I'm going to talk about next. So one of the things we always do is we talk about pricing, right? So in this pricing, what you can see here, and I hope a lot of you have been following the conventional wisdom here. Jade was literally the worst asset to be holding over the last month and a half since the launch of Serendale 2.0. Crystal was up 100, like up 3.55%. Coincidentally, Jade lost the same percent from the token. Jewel did phenomenal. And let's be honest here. Like, I think every single one of us who's invested in DeFi Kingdoms loves this token, right? Deflationary, used in S Jewel, C Jewel, and surprisingly, the Clay token's up. Now, I have personally found that the Clay token is somewhat expensive, not because of the price, but because it cost me like 0.1 to like do a mining transaction. It cost me like a lot more than it cost me on Crystal Veil to do the transactions I want to do. And because of that, I actually haven't explored that ecosystem as well. If they ever do get the cost down of the token for gas, I would be 100% down to use more Serendale 2.0. I mean, there is one thing I should say that I have been doing. If you guys watch the summons, I summoned my last two Gen Zeros on Serendale 2.0. I made a tweet about this last week. The prices are significantly lower to rent my pair. So I just bridge my hero over, rent out the hero on Serendale 2.0, and then bridge it back. But yeah, all my questing is 100% done in Crystal Veil besides my mining, which I'm mining my lock bag of Jade. So that's that for pricing. Going back to the comments, 170 total entries, 88 participants, which means like 5 out of 88 people will win that Gen Zero. Not bad odds for sure. Hey, Ghost Panda, how's it going? Yeah, always ready for Wednesday. This is like our dedicated time slot. And yeah, Serendale, very pricey. I do most of my questing in CV. Yeah, completely agree with you. So let's go back to the weekly recap. So one thing I will say is continue taking profits on tiers. Now, let's go to the tiers diagram, and maybe I'm going to zoom out a bit. You can see here, the price of tiers has really been wobbling around ever since like the first few weeks of January, where we saw it really start pumping. And as of last week, actually, right after our stream, I don't know if because people heard me talk about taking profits, but the price of tiers started dipping. It went all the way down to like 0.15 for like a second, but like it really hovered around 0.17, 0.18. And like you have heroes that are farming these tiers, right? So like every day I'm creating like 200, 300, 400 tiers, something like that. So I'm just selling those tiers because I can create more of them. And like if tiers keeps going up, that's great. My heroes will be more valuable in their potential pricing power. So just a reminder, I'm not saying to sell all your tiers or like, sell a significant portion. Just consider taking profits over certain time periods. Even if you want to hold on to 100,000 tiers, just sell the tiers that your heroes are making. So like you lock something in, like you have to, when times are euphoric and it goes a little way ahead of us, you want to make sure that you're not just like completely like all in or something. Okay. I'll go to the next thing, which is, okay, so I have been doing a lot of DFK duels, and if you follow me on Twitter, you will see that sort of popping up quite a bit, right? Like DFK duels is like, there's 3 modes. You have solo, squad, and war. And this, I actually owe this to Zug from our Discord. And what he mentioned to me was when you're in the solo component of duels, you have to win 1 out of every 3 matches to basically stay ahead, which is actually a pretty good deal, right? If you play 3 matches and you got like, if you're batting like 33%, 34%, you're solid to just rank up and get tons of rewards. So I started using DFK Helper to help me with this. You can do it manually too. I know some people do it, but like I can't be bothered with the UI and the clicking. And I have gone from common 1 to rare level 3 over the course of what has it been? Maybe like six or 7 days. What I will show here actually is, let me just take this slide off. We'll go to DeFi Kingdoms. I'll swap to that account to kind of show like what happens here. And we'll go to duels. There is just some like very basic and very easy rewards that you can gain. So like whatever participation trophy, I don't really care for. 200 gold, 1 stamina pot, 2 stamina pot, a chaos crystal, 4 stamina pot, a golden egg, 6 stamina pot. Oh, sorry, so this is where I am, rare level 2. And I'm like 600 XP away from rare level 3. One of the things the team mentioned in the last AMA is they're going to look at how they like do the boosting. So right now, I think the conventional wisdom is people aren't gaining enough experience to hit the higher level of XP that you need to sort of get like the best rewards, right? Like I'm about to hit 4 eggs, but what I really want is these crystals, especially like, these greater stones, right? This is where I want to be. How are you going to hit 26,000 XP if you gain like +6, +7 on every duel, right? There's no way. I think the value in this is slowly climbing, getting these free items, and the team will come back and do a boost, and it will work retroactively. So if you gain 1,000 XP already, they will account for all the new mechanics in your current score. So you'll see a big bump up. We don't know what that will look like. And the other thing is, like when you submit for duels, like you typically have to submit a background, a stat that you prefer, and you have to pick through your heroes to find a class bonus. This gets extremely frustrating when you're trying to match 3 or 9 heroes with the same background or the same stat, because it's a huge edge. But when you have 1 hero, then you take that out of the equation, focus on the class bonus, and then just 1 out of 3. And like literally, like I have DFK Helper doing it for me, and it just maxes out. I get like, I think it's like 10 or 12 duels per day per hero, and I have like 4 heroes doing it. So it's pretty awesome. Going back to the chat, let's see what's going on. Hey, Victor, how's it going tonight? Hey, Haitian Buffet, how's it going? Better late than never, 100%. Blackwing, yep. Jade almost parodied at Crystal, right? This is what we all saw this coming, right? Like after what we saw happen with Crystal and Jewel, and like how like Crystal just fell off a cliff and approached Jewel, and then there was some back and forth as like worked on tokenomics. I'm happy to see that Jade is getting close to the parity of Crystal, right? Am I self-dueling, or does DFK Helper do it all for you? So I am not self-dueling because the UI is kind of annoying. However, so GFK Helper helps me. However, like I'd say this a lot. I have two wallets. One wallet that I completely use for things like, my liquidity, my Gen Zeros, my mythics, my legendaries, my pets, my oddities, my rare backgrounds, or whatever, right? They all stay on one wallet. That is protected for all intents and purposes like Fort Knox. I have another wallet where I have all like the reject heroes, right? Like my level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s that I created during the summon event. DFK Helper auto quests, it levels them up, it kind of builds them up so I can sell them later. It kind of uses the maximum stamina from them. And I'll send like 2 or 3 like mid-level mythics over to the account there and back just to get the duels in. And that's pretty much all I do in trusting the third party. Like Coolio and Zealous are nice guys, and I somewhat trust them, but then again, like I haven't met them in person, and just like I wouldn't give like one of my best friends like $100,000, I'm not gonna hand someone the keys to like my liquidity on DeFi Kingdoms. Yeah, so iOS code, yeah, so definitely like you're gonna start feeling like you hit a ceiling, and this is where that boost comes out, right? Like at the end of the day, we don't know what that boost is, but like I hope it's gonna be significant, because how are people like, even when you look at those who did well in solo, they're not getting as far as the biggest stone. So there must be something coming. Also, we know they have raffles at the end of the season. Last time, I think they gave out a couple Gen Zeros for each type of dueling. Just freebies. But like I'm telling you, the first couple thousand XP is very easy, or in my case, 1,200 XP. And you get a bunch of free items for it, so why not, right? So it's pretty good. King Ed, ooh, I'm gonna assume you're shocked. And yeah, it's a potato wallet, Haitian, that's right. Howdy Zabu, how's it going tonight? Just talking about the content creators and how there's ton of them in the space, which is fantastic. Now, the fourth topic before I get into the question of the day is really, how do you catch up with others? Now, I heard About Life podcast talking about this yesterday. So About Life podcast, he made a very interesting statement, and I really like About Life podcast. I like Shane, and he's actually going to follow this stream at I think in 2 hours. He mentioned that there was no way he could catch up without making some reckless gambling, right? Like a few days ago, he dark summoned a Dread Knight with an Exalted Hero, and he got like some complete garbage, common, basic hero with no abilities, I think, maybe an advanced. And those two heroes apart are worth a couple, like maybe 2,000 to 3,000 crystal each, right? And his argument was, well, I have to get lucky to catch up with you guys. But I don't really think that's true. I think the way, like, if you hit a gamble and it pays off, like let's say you summon a Dread Knight or you summon an Exalted Hero, that's the gamble. I personally would recommend any sort of opportunities where like you building those, especially with a smaller account, I would take those in profits, make those into some sort of solidified revenue generator, right? Like, yeah, he can't get a Gen Zero for 6,000 crystal, but that's like 1/4 of the way there. My thought is start building those profits, locking that stuff up, using it to speculate and trade. And yeah, like keep going for more exalteds, more exalted trait heroes or transcendent, whatever. Just go for, or sorry, I guess it's exalted trait now. Keep going for that. And like he's really good at doing that. Build those heroes out, sell them, rinse, repeat, and eventually you will catch up. I don't think gambling is the only way. Like maybe small gambles, but not one where like you can put 6,000 crystal into the machine or the cog machine and come out with zero. That's gotta be awful. Like I can't even imagine how that feels like. Okay. But that's just my thought on it. Like if you guys do get a lucky break and you catch, like let's say you win a Gen Zero, for example, just because someone has 5 Gen Zeros, does that mean you should gamble what you have away? No, of course not. Focus on the grind. Focus on building up your account slowly. We talked about this last week, right? Be Jim. Don't be Dwight. Look for the opportunities. There will be tons of opportunities. It's been somewhat like a little more mute since like tiers kind of popped off, but you really want to make sure that if you're future focused and you're looking toward where the game is going, you can get ahead of it, right? And that's what Mythic Squad did and what Grady did early on with all of these abilities, right? Speaking of which, how's it going, Starbuck? I hope you have a good night. And yes, Mr. Potato, Zabu's here. My biggest problem with DFK is I'm having a hard time getting rid of my potatoes. Well, you know what? Now's not a bad time to hold on to some of those potatoes because you can get a lot of use out of the tiers they provide, right? Nor if it wasn't for tiers and if it wasn't for my theory that a dark summoning raffle is coming up soon, I would have gotten rid of a ton of those heroes that I created. I created 179 heroes over the course of like the last 4 or 5 days in the summoning raffle. Those things are like, those are not heroes I want to hold on to. For the most part, they're like maybe like 10-20% of them are, but the rest I would dump, right? And especially with the heroes I used to summon with. I bought a bunch of Gen 1 10 out of 10s that are pretty much used up, a bunch of Gen 1 5 out of 5 advanced heroes that are also used up. I want to get rid of them too. But I don't think now is the time because they're printing me tons of money with tiers. Please don't FOMO or rush into anything trying to catch up. That's it. Zabu, you took the words right out of my mouth. I know I felt as if I'm behind others. Focus on growing percentage-wise and not a fiat number. 100%. Like my account is nowhere near the size of Grady's, nowhere near and Grady will look at Harambe, right? Like everyone looks like one level up and goes, man, I want to be like them. But every single person is like striving toward a goal, and we're doing it slowly. If you gamble, you actually have a chance of setting yourself up to fail, and like you don't want to do that. That's the like you have time on your side. Focus on those small wins. If you get those opportunities with big wins, like they'll come up randomly and rarely. Like when Jules tokenomics changed and people were able to change Crystal into Jewel at above 1-1. Like I think it was like 1.6 to 1, like 1.6 Jewel for every Crystal, and like what an incredible like change that was for those in the system. Haitian, what's the next opportunity? I have 1,000 crystal laying around for it. You still think pets will pump on the day of utility? I do. I also think the materials and the tiers will pump on that day as well. As I think the materials and tiers will pump when green eggs hatch. But there's no big opportunity outside of kind of like what we've been doing, which is like, sell off those tiers while it's up. There's a bunch of things kind of being loaded in the system right now, right? So we have we're kind of like in that transition period to see what's coming. So I would rather hold on to it, that cash, than wait. Starbuck, I was gonna dark summon an elite dread with a trans monk, but someone just biffed an attempt, and I had a change of heart. It's funny. Last night's stream, which is what we're about to get to. Mosh was saying me and you are very much alike when it comes to risk tolerance. So 100%. Like those are the things that kind of like give me the jitters. Zabu, my man. In my opinion, it's not my good time to sell taters, but to buy them when you can find uncommon and advanced in your floor. That's right. Completely agree. Crazy how much harder it is to level up when you get to higher levels. That's right. Like the number of XP goes from 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000. I think then it goes to 6, 8, and whatever. But there will be bonuses and there will be pets coming out to help along with the level 10 questing. So this is where we see a lot of those like those big bumps. And yeah, I see Starbucks completely aligned too. Yeah, percentage over total fiat. All right. So that being said, I hope from this session you took away, look, it's not about catching up with others. It's about setting a goal, and you will get there. I always go back to this. In December of 2021, I sat there with one hero, had 0 Gen Zeros, watched a bunch of people do it, and it just takes a lot of discipline to sit there and not want to rush success, right? Look for opportunities, capitalize on the liquidity you have, take advantage. If you trade opportunity you can take advantage of, where you can like sell stuff, do it. Like especially when people will overvalue certain items or certain pets or certain heroes, take advantage of it. King Ed, you know what? Replace that name with anybody else. I feel like every single person, regardless of how many Gen Zeros they own, will say they need to own more. Like I could really go for 2 more Gen Zeros too. So the last 35 minutes, I wanted to talk a bit about yesterday's stream. And for those of you who got a chance to watch it, I had the pleasure of having Mosh from the Mythic Squad, Team Purple, come on the stream and give him the opportunity to change my thinking around pets, right? You can see on the top of the screen, this would be Mosh's queue. He's got a ton of eggs ready to hatch, just chipping away hundreds of eggs, whether they're gray or blue, all with the Gaia spoon. And behind this cavern are all those mythic pets waiting. And the old Sam, the old brown gent, would sit there, walk away after doing a couple hatches. And, look at that. 0 mythics, no pets found matching this criteria. All those tiers. Unfortunately, those aren't the tiers I can use to trade for crystal. Those are just like the salty type, right? But we had him on stream, and I'm going to walk kind of through what we did, okay? So to preface everything, before I even get into this, what I want to say is you have to look at these stats. So I'm not too focused on the stats on the left, but I'm more focused on the fourth most column. You have to understand, when you go on social media, especially on Twitter, right? Social media is fantastic in a way that you can connect. But most people, the majority of people, post their wins, and they don't post every time they hit a brick. To see bricks, you got to watch my channel, you got to watch About Life podcast channel, you got to watch, live streams to see that, right? But when you just get like 5 seconds to show someone something, you're going to show like the accomplishment you have, right? So like, even personally, I used to see Mosh post tons of mythic pet hatches all over, not Instagram, all over Twitter. It makes you feel like he's hitting it a lot more than he actually was hitting it, right? So this data is out of date. He currently has 53 mythic pets hatched. The guy's a fiend. He keeps hitting it. But it's also the number of eggs he's hatched to get there is pretty substantial, right? He was sitting around a 2.27% rate of return on his mythics. And if you use Gaia's Boon, it's 2%. So, and the idea is, for those of you who aren't as familiar with stats, as you increase the size of your population, you get closer to the reality of odds, right? Like if you and I were to play rock, paper, not rock, scissors, like flip a coin, right? Odds, not odds. Oh, I'm so stupid. Heads or tails. When you flip a coin, heads or tails, right? Of course, like I can hit two heads in a row. That's 100%, but the odds are 50. But imagine we did that 1,000,000 times. We will start to approach the 50-50, right? That's the idea of making sure your population size is big. So this is why when we look at Mosh, who's really done like the biggest population size of egg hatching, 2,200 almost, or more than that now, he's close to the 2% range. Compare that to Alez, who near the bottom did 28 egg hatching, got 3 mythics, so that's like a 10% or 11%, right? Or Umfreak, right? Or where is he? Umfreak had like a bunch as well. Here he is. 76 eggs and 4 mythics, right? 5%. Phenomenal, right? Just something you got to think about, right? You want to think about like just get that in your mind that like as much as you see, like even when you go on like Twitter and someone's like, oh my God, look at that. I hit a mythic Dread Knight. You don't see how many times they've failed. Don't let that change your mind. I know it's hard. It's hard for me, even as I say this, because it sort of definitely influences me because I'm like, man, I don't want to miss out on that either, right? Haitian, yeah, that's funny. I'm glad you enjoyed the pick. If you got a bot, Chump Heroes is great. Most of them can pay for themselves in 4 months. 100%. Yeah, the salty kind. It's all LOA. LOA? What's that acronym stand for, Starbuck? Bigger number, sample better average, 100%. How did allies do that? 10%. I know. Some people are just lucky, right? Damn, if Mosh did 1,500 boon, he would have spent 300,000 of tiers. That's worth 6K at the moment. Yeah, I wonder how much tiers he bought like prior to all of this. And yeah, I wasn't aware who made the chart, but yeah, Yippee, shout out to him for the chart. If he kept them, it'd take a long time to scale up those tiers. Hey, there's Umfreak, the master himself of the mythics, 4 or 5%. Zabu, the FOMO is real. Dr. Chi Trenery, I'm showing up on those charts. Blindwind. Hey, you know what? I'm jealous because I had 5 mythic pets. So in the second column, I'm pretty sure I'm the person under Shura who just got cut off because I'm spades investing and I own 5 mythics that I had bought at that point in time. Law of average. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Law of average. Yeah. I should stop hatching with 3.3%. Yeah, you know what? I would walk away and consider myself having beaten that casino. I'm Ron Burgundy, but I won't. Of course you won't. Who does? I know somebody who did one hatch yesterday after watching the live stream and hit a mythic and was like, "Yo, I'm gonna walk away with 100%." And then I was watching the pet hatching, and they were hatching quite a bit more, a lot more bricks, of course, to even it out. So what we'll go through next is really why do Boon? So I did a video on pet strategy maybe a couple weeks ago, but I thought I would revise this and kind of give a little more insight based on yesterday's festivities or activities. Depending on whether you're using a gray or a blue egg, it's about 14 crystal for the egg. And obviously, like, the price of the egg is capped because at a certain point, you can just trade in 2 crappy pets to get the egg of that sort, right? But we'll just use the price as it is right now. You have 200 tiers being 40 crystal as the last night. You have about, like, roughly 1 crystal for, a bunch of those materials that you need to use. 5,000 gold is 5 crystal, and 50 crystal is obviously 50 crystal. That gets us to 110 crystal per Gaia's boon, right? That's all in. So that includes the price of the egg and everything else. If instead you're doing, I always forget what the middle one is, but you know what? Let me go to the next slide. If you're doing Gaia's Grace, right, you reduce the number of gold. I think it goes down to like 500, and I think the number of crystals goes down to like 10. You're not really saving that much compared to the odds that you gain when you do the Gaia's boon. So if you're doing strictly on looking at like the wins, it is just a million times better, or not a million times, like it's almost like 1.5x better to just do Gaia's boon than it is to do Gaia's Grace. Okay. We getting any Basel tonight? Unfortunately, I used all of my wife's supply, and my desk stunk for two days. I had to get like an air freshener and stuff and spray everything down. It's pretty bad. If he got 53 mythic and he sold them all for 2,500 C, that would be around 13k. Do you mean 130k? And that also doesn't include the legendaries, the odd pool, and the backgrounds, right? I see him selling a bunch of stuff. He is profitable, I'm sure. Oh my god, it worked. You read my Anchor Man movie quote. Lol, sorry, I had to. But then again, maybe not, because he spent 7k on crystals alone. I mean, there's a lot of math. And you know what? I'm going to show you how I did yesterday. And, if Maj wants to do it for all 2,000 whatever eggs, it's up to him. We'll see if he's profitable. I wonder if Jewel will do 100x back to $20. What we do know is, you've seen how Axie kind of accelerated during the bull market. We really don't know where Jewel. What we do know is the assets really hold their value, and we're at a sweet spot where the assets are really pricing the power tokens. Potentially, we can get Jewel to just keep going up, and I would actually like a future where most of the heroes' values stay somewhat at this price, and the price of Jewel goes up. That way, you can get more people joining the game. It was so prohibitive to have people join the game when heroes cost 500, like for a floor hero. It's just not realistic, right? Ghost Panda laughing out loud. And yeah, Coin Wizard, not everyone can hit the best. Other people have got to lose for a win. That's the structures of summons and pet hatching. And yeah, that's a good kind of segue into the next slide, right? So here I show Gaia's Boon, really the odd chances, as well as like the odd pet variants and the rare backgrounds. So if you look at this, like just from like a blackjack standpoint, 72% of the time you're losing, right? You're going to lose because a common is worth like 13 to 15 crystal. An uncommon with 1 star is worth like 22, 21 crystal, maybe 23 crystal. And I call that, it's whatever, right? That makes up 72% of the time. So it's like a 0.2 multiplier on kind of your result or like your payment. So you pay 110 crystal, you get like 22 or 20 or 18. 20% of the time where you get a rare, you get a push. Now, where the advantage comes is really the 6% of the time you hit a legendary, you get anywhere between a 5 to 15x multiplier. And then 2% of the time, you get a 25 to 40x multiplier. So a mythic really does pay for all of your bricks, and legendaries do help you. On top of that, you also have the variance as it relates to odd pools. So like 2% of pets have special backgrounds, and 2% of pets have like these odd features, right? So like I'm gonna go through like kind of like how I did yesterday. And maybe before I do, I'll kind of walk you through the approach. So Mosh came on, he said, hey, like click on one egg here and then one egg there, and we'll watch the Discord. So I had the Discord open, and that video is still available, so you can check it out later. But what had happened was I was opening up a bunch of commons, and I remember like once you start doing enough, people start like thinking, hey, like maybe you're onto something, or maybe a time has passed with not enough legendaries and mythics. It's time to snipe. So people would try doing it, right? This was how my first 15 hatches went. So common, like brick. And then I had a golden goose audit pet, right? So that was nice. Common, uncommon, rare, okay, 4-star rare, back to common, 3-star rare, uncommon. Then I hit the boar, which was a pretty sweet open. I think at this point, maybe I'm somewhat close to even, just because of the 2 odd pets. And then brick, rare, so push, right? So that's how the first 15 hatches went. Let's see here. Sabu, keep in mind that Mosh says he does not put any more money in. He flips what he has, works for him, and I'll take all the uncommon pets he dumps at floor that I can afford. Yep, completely agree. And you know what? I don't really put much money into the game anymore either. I typically take a bunch of profits as well. And then every now and then, like for example, yesterday, I think I funded the account with 22 AVAX just so I could do a bunch of hatches, because I had used a lot of my liquidity buying like, I actually bought a mythic pet off Mosh maybe a few days before that. And I don't want to say I lost patience. I'm going to talk about what happened, okay? So this is really the first step. So this is not really, I'm not really happy here. And somebody in between had hit a mythic, like between like one of these pet hatches, because I was doing it one at a time, right? And I had loaded a bunch of pets. And also, don't do what I did. I screwed up big time. I accidentally, on 2 different occasions, let me go find that name of this. When you load up the pet hatching component, it resets to Gaia's favor. I had clicked Gaia's favor by accident. When I clicked I didn't click it by accident. It got defaulted by accident back to it. So I have 2 eggs that are still counting down like 6 days that I paid 200 tiers for like 0.2% chance of mythic. I basically threw away those eggs. I ruined that because I have the lowest chances of hitting on those for no reason, for absolutely no reason. And it's very careless. I didn't realize it would reset. Yeah, and it's boon all the way, right? That's what the I hope that's what the infographic kind of showed, right? Make sure you boon. So let's go to the next set of 15. I was bricking again, right? Uncommon, common, uncommon. At this point, I said, and I think I did like a batch of like 6, and because I was noticing people were sniping in between, and when somebody hit another mythic in between that, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm minimizing the Discord. I don't want to see how people are doing. I am opening every single one of my pet eggs, so I queued every single one of them up, minimized the screen so I couldn't see what I was opening, and just started hitting, like I started spamming accept on every transaction. And what happened was, number one, I actually hit some bangers. But the other thing I want to say is, if I had sat there and gave up after hatching 22 pets and seeing that mythic get hatched, I wouldn't be here happy today. I probably wouldn't be talking about this today. I probably would have been relating this back to the whole DJing conversation, right? It's crazy how like much you need to kind of work with a bigger sample size. And honestly, like, it worked out for me. It might have taken another like 50, 100, 200 hatches to kind of get to where I was, right? But I didn't want to give up. So I hatched, I think it was 13 more pets. And those 13 next pets, right? The new batch, I went common, common, legendary, right, with one mythic bonus, rare, rare with a mythic bonus, common, uncommon, then a legendary odd pet, which Mosh has told me is like, he would list for 5,800 or 6,000 crystal. I don't know if it's really valued that much, but hey, I'll list it because I trust Mosh on this more than I trust myself. And then the last 5 were uncommon, uncommon, mythic, 8-star. But I mean, I wish the 2-star was in the crafting bonus, but I'll take it. First mythic hatched ever on the scoreboard, and then common, rare, right? So I didn't look. I didn't want to know if anyone was sniping me. And in this case, I saw you About Life podcast trying to snipe me there. It was hilarious. I thought it was actually hilarious that he did it, but like honestly, I don't care. But what happened was in those last 13 sevens, my sample size of 13 was so much better, right? I had a mythic and 2 legends. I had none of that before, right? And I think like, me willing to just continue doing it and also, not get emotional, because I was going to start getting emotional. I was like, obviously I was starting to tilt because I was like, how am I hitting a common every time I hatch? And every time somebody else is hatching right after me, it's like legend, mythic, mythic, legend, right? Pretty brutal. Watch it be a mythic though. Yeah, let's hope so, right? Yep, Coolio, I agree. You know what? I hope so. That mass Corgi is fire, 100%. Coolio Flames, Zabu Dynamite. A double rare is the win. Yeah, I kind of consider that like a push more than I consider it a win. Like it's slightly better than a push, I guess. And Starbuck, thank you. That was the first mythic pet I opened. I've opened 1 mythic hero in a year and a bit, and 1 mythic pet now, which is sweet. An accidental favor was how I got my golden direwolf. Really? Damn. Maybe it'll work out for me. Wow, congratulations. Yes. Is it that obvious that I've taken statistics? Or not? I don't know. Might take a chance and do that for a 12 pack of gardeners. Honestly, I am stockpiling 50 green eggs to do the same thing when it comes out. But I'm not going to do the deep dive I'm doing today because I don't think anyone's done this kind of deep dive so far. So because we got 18 minutes, I got to slog through this, okay? We'll show you the next slide. And guys, do me a favor. I'm clicking the wrong buttons. So let me make sure that here you go. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I stayed up till 4 a.m. last night building these slides for you guys so that I could do a better visual analysis for everyone and something that you can kind of go back and look at. Because like we all talk about this like very theoretical, but I wanted to show like, in my sample size of 35, how did it turn out, right? Yeah, 100%. Sample size, population, and we also have like variance and standard deviation, right? So like obviously replicating this over 35, this is going to change every time, but as we approach sample sizes of 1,000, 10,000, we will start to see it kind of get close to like the mean, right, of what the odds should be. Leviathan looks so strong. Yeah, let's hope it is. And yeah, that population. So you can see here, out of the 35 pets, right, 11 were common, 1-star, like that was it. 14 kind of ranging. I had 1 oddity, 7 rares with a mythic bonus and an oddity, 2 legends, right? Both 5-star. Wish one was a 9-star, but I can't really complain after like the way I started, right? And then 1 mythic 8-star. Okay, so this is the kind of excerpt of my summoning results. And Zabu, I completely agree that with the odds that I've just shown, it feels like gambling, right? This is not something I would recommend for anyone who has a small account. I personally did this because I had made, I think it was like 1,000 crystal that week or this week with my Gen 07s because the big discrepancy between rental prices on Serendale 2.0 and how much I was able to sell their progeny on Crystal Vale. That plus I'm like, you know what? I got Mosh here. I'm going to do it once and I can't lose. So my thesis was if I do this and I brick, No one is ever going to tell me that I didn't give it a shot, because I always kept hearing from everyone, hey guys, Brown Gent's just too much of a nit. He's never tried it. He doesn't know the way. And if he proved me wrong, and I wouldn't say prove me wrong, but if he was able to, if I was able to get a mythic pet, I'm not going to complain, right? I put 3,800 crystal up, and I'm going to show you this math after the fact. I wanted to see if I could actually get a mythic pet with this, or enough to kind of offset it. And I was hoping, I knew at a minimum if I hit 38 commons, at least I got like a 500 crystal discount, right? Because I would have sold those. RK3, thanks. Like I said, guys, make sure you like and comment, because these kind of videos take a long time. I'm not just turning on the camera. I put together a ton of work in the back end. So this is the 35 pets that I have kind of put together or kind of hatched. Here's how that breaks down versus the odds that we see with the mythic boon, right? So I hit 31% common, 40% uncommon, 20% rare, 5.7% legend, 2.9% mythic. And I technically should have hit 30% common. So I had less commons than I should have gotten. I had more uncommons, right? Because I had 40% versus 36. Somehow I had exactly the same percentage of rares I should have. A slightly less on legendaries. And while it doesn't look like a big difference, 2.9 versus 2%, that's like almost a 50% kind of improvement on where I should be, where I was with 35 eggs. So with 50 eggs, I should hit one mythic. I'm already 15 eggs ahead of where I should be, right? This is the way. Yeah. Cove King, so I have a question for you. Was it more entertaining when I was breaking and like looking like I wanted to jump off a cliff, or after? when I was like super pumped and like doing like the victory sign and everything. 200 guys tiers like 14 jewels now. Yeah, it's like 40 tiers, right? So early on I actually show a schematic showing like how much each of those is worth in comparison, and like you remove 49 crystal from the 50 crystal for the total cost if it's grace, and 4 crystal for this. So it's like 53 crystal less for the Gaia's grace, but you don't get the same odds. It's still better to do the Gaia's boon, and you also get it faster too, which is people overlook that. And I think you also get shiny 100%. So shininess doesn't matter yet, but it could in the future. So basically over here, I underperformed on commons, which is perfect with me. I overperformed on uncommons. Sure, okay, fine. I performed just as well on rares, a little less on legendaries, but I overperformed massively on mythics, which is honestly where you want to be. So with those stats, super pumped. Before you hit was the best. You were starting to tilt. I knew it. I was like, oh my God, why did I do it? Why did I do it? All that work, right? To get the 3,800 crystal. Thank you for the content, top shelf stuff. Appreciate it. It was all good except Mach's connection. Yeah, I think his computer blew up yesterday, but he came on last night, like not on the channel after, but he was pumping out some more pets, and he hit he hit a mythic Leviathan with this. It looked the exact same as the one I have, right? It had 2-star under the profession and had 3 stars everywhere else. Before you, it was the best. Yeah, started to tilt. We went through this. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad I hit in the end as well. Watching the Discord live was the best. Yeah, but I couldn't do it after the fact, right? I just couldn't take it. My heart couldn't take that somebody else was winning every time I was losing. It was just so rough. You know what I mean? That got me involved. Arcade, did you try to snipe me too? Was a great stream. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Like that was a very impromptu stream, and we talked about it the day before, and I'm glad we got to do it. Just because we have 10 minutes left, I'll kind of wrap this up. Hatching revenues. Let's go through this. So what I wanted to do is make sure I kind of lowballed every single value. So you'll see here the common pets, 15 crystal per. I have the prices for all of the uncommon. Mosh told me that 500 would really be the low end for the golden goose with 2 stars. So I put it at 500. I think he said it was like 700 that I could potentially get. Also, he told me not to sell it. So I'm going to listen to Mosh and not sell it because I trust his judgment on pets more than myself. I'm really just a mythic pet hoarder and eventually flipper. But you can see here 928 crystal from the uncommons in total and 165 from the commons. iOS code, lucky hatching during Brown Gen stream. I had a 9-star legendary. Oh yeah, I think I called that out on the live stream. I think I saw you do that. That's sweet. Arcade 3, yes. You know what? Maybe next time. Well, next time you won't be able to do it because I'm going to have queued all of those up and I'm going to have all of them submitted. And I'm going to do them on an account that isn't behind like a hardware wallet. So I don't have to confirm. That was the annoying part. Every time I hit accept, I'd have to like use my stylus to kind of accept it on the hardware wallet. Oh, you did it just now. Oh, I thought I saw you do it during the stream, or maybe that's somebody else. Okay, so these are the values for common and uncommons. For rares, it slightly gets better as well because, you know, as you can see here, the rares really, like, for the most part, are a push. You know, some rares are not even a push. Like 3-star rares have a value of 62 crystal, right? Remember, we're paying 110 per hatch. What really kind of bailed me out was the oddity, the boar, right? I was looking at prior sales and also the mythic bonus pet, the 4-star with 1 mythic bonus on it, getting us 1589 for the value in rares, right? In legendary, like the one of the 5-star legendaries is only worth 400 crystal, which is pretty low. But then we have the oddity pet, which Mosh believes is worth like 6,000 crystal. I'm going to value at 4,500 just to be like kind of, you know, a little more conservative on this, getting us a total of 4,900 for legendaries. And then finally, the mythic 8-star pet is valued around 3,000 crystal. So that is pretty awesome. Yeah. No, I got it. I got what he meant. Yeah, Mosh definitely did say hold the golden goose. He said that was the oddity pet. He's like he would never sell. So I don't know why. I don't really get it. Just because it has quack 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 on the top right. Honestly, couldn't tell you. And then looking at this, let's bring it all back together, right? So at the start, I told you we had 35 hatches at 110 crystal each, right? That's 3,850 crystal. If we add up all of the outputs from common, uncommon, rare, legendary, mythic, and then we take away like that fee, right? So like when you sell something, whether it's in the tavern or in the hatchery, the team charges a 3.7% fee. Now, what I will say is the team has mentioned that they are open to reducing this fee because what they're noticing is a lot of people are going over the counter and messaging directly to buy stuff, so they don't get taxed. 3.75 is not that big when you're using, like, I don't know, a smaller item or a smaller hero. But when you're buying a Gen 0, it can be significant. It can be like a matter of 1,000 plus crystal, right? Or even with Mythic Pet, it's like 150 crystal. It's not chump change, right? It's, if we're sitting there trying to arbitrage, you know, sell like our summons for like higher amounts and we're paying this much on the big items, that's really where we're losing it. And I think the team's revisiting it, which is awesome because I do like having this kind of infrastructure within the game. Hopefully, you know, when we get messaging, we're able to also have like trading and trading platforms and trading boards. But because, you know, I'm going to do the math for you, what you can see here from this is if these values are accurate, 6,335 crystal is what I made. Let's say I even, like, let's say that the total after fees was maybe like half of that. I'm still profitable. So what I hope you guys see is, like, in the sample size I did yesterday of 35, I was profitable. Does that mean that you should go out and try to replicate this? God, no. I did this as a pure gamble, a pure degenerate move, more of a statement, and because I knew it would be content that I could provide you guys. So I'm doing it so you guys don't have to. My opinion on pet hatching hasn't really changed that much, but I do have a framework that I will talk to on what I would do if I was doing it. Does Noah want my masked corgi for 6K? Yeah. You should probably find out. Mosh. Yeah, I was wondering who Noah was. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Mosh's name is not Noah. That's not what he told me, at least. Degen baby. Oh yeah. So here's the takeaway. I have a couple lessons from this big egg hatching frenzy, right? Tiers are super expensive right now, like around 2 cents. Just use a boon. Like if you're going to hatch and you're going to hatch more than one and you really want to hatch, boon is going to give you the best payoff right now because the amount you're paying in tiers across the board is constant. So you might as well get the best odds possible. And yeah, like you'll take a bigger hit on crystal, but it doesn't make a significant, while it's like, it's not double, right? Because you get 1% with grace, 2% with boon, but you're not paying double with boon. So that's why I would do it. Second thing I would say is, if you're going to do it, don't just hatch 1 or 2 eggs. If you're going to do it, either hatch a bunch or hatch nothing. Like I used to be, I'm the kind of person who doesn't like hatching I don't like hatching often. I'm going to go out there and buy the pets I want. But if you do want to hatch, like, okay, sure, like maybe you want to hatch like 1 egg, sure. But if you have reasonable expectations of hitting mythics, don't just like hatch like 1 egg every few days. Have enough liquidity to hatch multiple eggs in one session so you can overcome the short-term variance, right? You'll never recognize 2% or anything like that if you only do a few hatches, okay? What I do is I spam multiple eggs at once to maximize profits. Now, this might be an emotional thing because statistically, these outcomes should be mutually exclusive. At the end of the day, you should have the same odds of hitting a mythic on back-to-back pets as you do on a pet 1 or 100 away. But it makes you feel like you're more likely to hit if you do them all at once and if you wait for large gaps in payouts in the Discord. And a lot of people do that. I think one of the things that was mentioned by Mosh and by Starbuck yesterday is usually a signal goes out, oh, there's been 100 hatches with no mythics, and then everyone starts spamming, trying to be the one who gets it. But the big takeaway I want you to take away from all of this, regardless of whether or not you do eggs, don't compare yourself to others. Social media only shows highlights. Don't compare your account to others. It doesn't matter when you come on stream. It doesn't matter when you see like others who may have more than you. You don't know how much money they put in. You don't know how much time they put in, the effort. But what you should be looking is to learn from those who have it and then decide for yourself, are these the strategies that I want to follow? Are these strategies that I can replicate that I think will help me grow my account? If you're just looking at people who gamble and, oh my God, like, they Hail Married 2 Dark Summoned heroes and hit like a Mythic Dread Knight, but they threw away their best heroes for like a 1% shot. And by the way, I'm not throwing shit on anyone because I don't have anyone in mind for this. If they went for that, please tell me that you're going to recognize that that's a very low percentage and it won't really happen that often, okay? So with that, I just want to kind of go to a reminder, this is the last week for the Pantheon. I think as of right now, we have 7 of 10 slots filled. We're not going to launch with official 10. I'm making sure I review the applications to make sure we have the right fit. So if you're interested in doing that, just remember, you have to own a Gen 0 hero, send an email to the email address that you see here with a reason as to your qualifications, the OX address, and when if you're using DFK Quester, make sure you send me your address and not their tip jar, because someone did that by accident. I thought that was really funny because I was like, what the hell address is this? And then I was able to kind of figure out what their address was based on their email. But also mention like why you'd be a good addition to the guild. And then we're going to conduct interviews with those that kind of need to pass stage 1. And Zabu, that's how I'm looking at it. It's fun. I can't wait to go on a YOLO hatch spree, but working on my army still. Yeah, exactly. Focus on the things that are in your control, right? Focus on building those sure things. I did take the risk for you guys. I'm glad to say at least this time it paid off, but how can we replicate that, right? We appreciate you. Thank you. I always had an inner degen because I'm a poker player, but like if you saw me starting to tilt, you should see me at the poker table after being card dead for 12 hours. It is not fun. Content like this satisfies my urge to go hard on hatching in the meantime. You're welcome. Look for value. Yeah, legendary pets are still a great find. And honestly, like once mythics become really like cost prohibitive, we're going to start seeing people start to buy a lot of those. But I hope like what you guys have gotten away from this entire stream is I try to document the entire process. So you see it from start to finish, and you see statistically how I did versus expectations, how I did cost versus revenue, and everything like that. A lot of people don't go through that kind of effort. And I'm going to be honest with you, while I typically tend to do that kind of stuff, for stuff I do in the future, now that I've already done it for you guys, unless there's a massive reason for me to do it, I'm not going to spend like 4 to 5 hours, or in this case, I think it was 2 to 3 hours, setting all of this up. Okay. Has anyone asked if odds truly are the same on every single hatch, or is based on total population output? If ladder timing hatches really would be important. What I would say here to this comment, I didn't know what the percentage was. Starbucks provided me some information from, I forget who did it. It might have been the person you mentioned earlier. I went and added all of that, and I got a percent of population. It's 2.01% for oddities. Yes, there is a deadline for application because I want to launch the guild soon. FOMO is really real for realsies. Yep. Having Gen Zero's discrimination? Well, no. There's a lot of things we're going to do in the guild. Part of it is resource sharing and allocation, and it's not going to be shared publicly, but it is a very key component for it. And we're going to have a second guild where you don't need a Gen Zero, so that's going to come soon with the Coliseum. Okay. People should work on their own strategies as well. Once a strategy makes it to YouTube, it is over. Yeah, 100%. I used to post my strategies on YouTube, and all of a sudden I was fighting with other people to kind of get there, right? So this is why I'd say, like, find a group of people that you really trust. This is really where guilds come in, and work on those strategies with them. And also just like make sure you're following AMAs and stuff like that to kind of see what's coming ahead of time so that you can get ahead of the crowd. Okay. By my math, each blue egg will cost you roughly 108 jade in resources, or 1186. Yeah, I don't know how much it costs in jade, but I know in crystal is 110, or like maybe one. It's like around that ballpark figure, right? Because the prices fluctuate. That's it. Yeah, show the entire process, including the rugs. Yeah, I am nothing if not transparent. Like you guys got to feel the pain I was feeling internally, right? So, and to the previous commenter, this is kind of like the schematic that I put up together. Obviously, these prices are subject to change, not the crystal price, but everything else here, sort of fluctuates, especially the price of tiers, right? Before I let you guys go, just remember, if you need support, if you want to chat, if you want, talk about anything DeFi Kingdoms related, other crypto projects, or stocks, because I do a lot of stock stuff as well. It just hasn't been as popular because of the bear market. Make sure you join our free public Discord. Come check it out. Right now we're doing like a cumulative bun project where we're tracking how many buns are in each of those regions. So we'll have like the schematic showing you actually the map every single day, like highlighting all the buns in each of those locations and the totals. That's one thing we do, but it's a really big community over there. We, there's kind of no hold barred. We kind of share everything there. And typically I post there before I can post on YouTube because it usually takes longer. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It typically won't be this like formal and this kind of like structure. And the last two videos were like that. But I do want to thank you for spending your last hour with me on the channel. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, share the video with those who haven't seen it yet. Let's get DeFi Kingdoms out there and on the map. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time, probably on Wednesday, but who knows?